I suppose it was probably only a matter of time, given the time of year and the level of outbreak, with dengue fever around the world, showing up on nearly every continent in every country, and now we have it here in the United States. There's been a report from Greenville. We'll zoom in here. June 29, 2018, a handful of cases of Zika, dengue fever, and chikungunya in South Carolina, according to the Greenville News. It's not a nice disease. It really isn't. And the world is seeing a unprecedented outbreak. 100,000 or more in Sri Lanka, India, Australia, French Polynesia, all the way through. In fact, a little girl just died in Honduras from dengue. It's they're saying up to 75% of America could be affected by this. Because it travels on mosquitoes, you don't even need a human intervention. You don't even need to be near somebody that catches it. You could have all sorts of trade and shipping. They could come in on boxes, they could come in on planes, they could come in on buses, you name it. Mosquitoes are ubiquitous, especially this time of year. So I would just probably warn folks to stay away from areas where there are heavy concentrations of mosquitoes and do your very best, but especially living here in the South, it's nearly impossible. This article here talks about an area in Brazil that had no cases of dengue and went to 35,000 in a year. That's how virulent this stuff is. It is nasty, nasty stuff. Here they blame it basically just on roads. Simply they were developing the area, and because of people's ability to get from one place to the other, it gives them the ability to transmit diseases very, very easily. Now, also in the news today, kind of a big deal. Presidential election in Mexico. It's going to change things a great deal down there, but not in the way that people think. Like I have described the differences between their left and right wing and our right and left wing, they also have a very different definition of what we call populism. And the guy who is pretty much gonna be the winner, this guy named Obrador, is a populist. He's been labeled a socialist, but really what he's going to do is he is going to not cause more of a problem at our border. In fact, he's going to have a whole different take on this thing. He's going to be more in the vein of Maduro, in the sense that he is going to create a nationalist sentiment for Mexico on behalf of Mexicans. You see, there's always this assumption that everybody down there always wants to come here because it's so much better here and there's so much more money and they come here to want to prosper and all this. He's going to make the allegation that coming to America is not a good thing and not your best choice, regardless of who you are. That places like Mexico and Latin American countries should begin to clean up their own backyard, but the way they do it is by restricting trade and access with the United States. A lot of people don't realize how much oil is in Mexico as well. And we've already seen this now. There's actually been a boat explosion in the Bahamas today, very suspicious, where a U.S. tourist was killed. U.S. popularity, for lack of a better word, around the world, especially in southern Latin America, is not on the rise. In fact, I can see this guy Obrador doing things that would discourage Americans from coming to Mexico and discourage Mexicans from going to the United States. and whatever he would need to do to facilitate that and facilitate the getting rid of the U.S. drug influence, the U.S. Desire for the drugs that come out of that region, he'll do it. He'll absolutely do it. Because places like this guy, like Obrador, and guys like Maduro, and guys like Morales, they don't see the United States as this great shining city on the hill anymore. They're going to give these people that are coming to our border other options. And a lot of you are like, oh, great, wonderful, fantastic, that fixes the problem. We don't need the wall. Yeah, but it's also going to come with some nasty side effects too. Especially when it comes to voting in world bodies like OPEC. Because if you could see Mexico and Canada and Ecuador and Venezuela and Iran all creating one consensus oil policy amongst themselves, since of course we're no longer great fans of Canada as well, they could turn the screws and make our life very difficult. This is what this guy wants to turn around. What this guy wants to, I guess he's their version of, our current leader. Because nobody could unite to make any other coherent argument against the guy. And they've killed over 100 politicians down there in the last year because of this. And trust me, the big globalists don't like this guy. They really don't, because he's going to have this same sentiment about creating a national identity for the people of Mexico. And more, in a sense, Latin America, Spanish, Western Hemisphere. So, anyway, it's going to be interesting. I will try to do an update later on to let you know how the polling's turned out. It's a runaway, though. It's not even close. It's nothing like what it was in Colombia. He's polling at 51%, and I think the next closest guy is like 21%. So Obrador, and they call him AMLO, by the way, AMLO. It's just an acronym for Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. So AMLO, if you see that all over the media, that's what they're talking about. But we will also keep an eye on this issue with dengue fever, because it's not something that people look to right away here in America, because it presents a lot like flu or feeling tired or dehydrated. And so, especially in little kids, if they aren't tested for it, once it gets progressed and it gets down the road, it's a very deadly disease. So keep your eyes open, watch your kids, watch your little ones, even watch your pets on this, because mosquitoes aren't picky. They really aren't. And we now have our first confirmed cases here in South Carolina, and I'm sure Florida will be the next one. So we were on the front lines of Zika when it came here, and it's not been unheard of for there to be cases of malaria here as well. So, but as you can see over here in Asia and this region of the world, it is at pandemic plague levels. It's ridiculous. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are dying from this. This little island, tiny little island down here, Reunion Island, has 368 additional cases on top of the ones that they've already had. And Reunion Island is a tiny, tiny place. India's overrun. Sri Lanka's overrun. The Philippines, Davao, Vietnam. 2 cases in Italy. And here's the article here where a 4-year-old girl died in Honduras. A man died in Jamaica. We have, let's see here, how many? 28 cases in Mexico. dengue in Peru, dengue in Colombia, and now in South Carolina. So we'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you.